Good afternoon. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More. Was just with some friends at a coffee shop this morning and was delighted to realize that one person I was enjoying a conversation with knew of TS Eliot and The Wasteland, which is what I'm working with on right now. Since March the 9th. Have you ever had a time when things were just going the way they were going and you read your poetry and you normally have a marvelous time with it, but you couldn't hear it that day? I'm working with several poetry books, and it's been a while since I've had the time to just read, and so now I have the time, which is a blessing and a privilege that I don't want to lose sight of in this modern day, so I won't. And I read number 5 in this series from The Wasteland by TS Eliot a couple of days ago, What the Thunder Said. And then I went to this place where I have friends, and I read it again, and the ecstasy of it came back, because I read it in a place, 2 or 3 of the poems, in a place where I'm still dealing with issues of difficulty from my past life. I have a bit of an issue right now, and will for quite some time, with bringing back that which fooled me, lied, gossiped behind my back, and won't admit it. They won't ever admit it. They chose separating themselves from me. Making me into something that I wasn't, over actually remembering me. Our relationship alone. And I don't have anybody who wants to go back. In a very real way. I was left behind. And I can tell you, as an American woman, that there are consequences. And particularly if you're pagan like I am, and you are going to do no harm, because you have been doing no harm, because not only am I a pagan, I'm elect. The elect are immortal in a way that the world does not understand. And I've been here before, and science doesn't cover this, does it? Science doesn't cover this any more than science covered Moses going up on the mountain in the Old Testament, and phases of God going past him. There are a lot of things that science doesn't cover that we are forced to deal with every day. So you can either be very intelligent and have your perfect world, or walking out of Ukraine with millions of other people, and science, humanitarian aid, love is not reaching you today. Love is reaching me, Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More. But love is not reaching those having to leave today. And Ukraine is not the only country that is dealing with this. I have determined to walk on. My cat just sighed. She's taking a rather long nap. I joined her, took a little nap, and she keeps napping, which I think is funny about cats. They can sleep most of their life away and be perfectly content. I imagine if you talked to the refugees of Ukraine today, that they wish they could sleep most of their life, like my cat. What do you imagine, America? Here's the problem. I am human. I am kind. I have feelings and I express them. I define romance on a regular basis. And I don't let American media define a romance for me at all. And I never have. Because you're very, very closed-minded about love, America. And Hollywood is full of your closed-minded bullshit. I'll leave you with those thoughts today. And read a poem that only could speak to me when I was in the proper place to have read it. So be careful. Be careful to produce an aura of universal love. And if you can't read poetry and have it connect to you, you work on that aura where you live until you can. I can at times. There was too much going on of sadness in my life the past 48 hours. 72. And I read several of the poems. And then sometimes a poem is to be got through, not argued, and not fellowshipped with this time. And number 3, the fire sermon, while I smiled to read it, did not beckon me. I'm not going to try it a second time. What the thunder said beckoned me, and then the colors came out. But I was not here because I had been going through something. Now, I am going to begin. You see, I have organized my life over and over again. And then now, my runestones are right there. And when I have those moments where too much of what has happened to me is reminding me of what I am not, because I have been picked apart too much, I'm going to begin to throw runes. And I'm even going to let the reverse runes speak to me in those moments. I have 4 rune books for 4 individuals, and I'm one of them. I will put them in there. I have already drawn something for my neighbor in this hood who is having a glorious time and yet understands not only spiritualism, but getting through difficult things like I understand it. She's quite a bit younger. And so I put it in my book. And sometimes I display what's in my book, and sometimes I don't. You will see my artwork with runes across many of my blogs. There are 11 right now. And I just had a divine appointment of writing with one of my newer blogs. It's none of your business, America. You hate me. I told someone who is torn with accepting me for who I am, that is close to me today, and I have been saying this for 2 weeks to get over my pain. It makes no sense to me. Those that are very close to me are not gathering together. About a month or a month and a half ago would have been a perfect time because someone was here and is still refusing to see me. That person does not live within an hour's drive of me, where I am now. I have family from when I was born that have no time for me still. They're all caught up in their own lives, and I'm not going to cry for you anymore. You are ugly sometimes, and you do not value real people. Because if there's one thing that I am, it's a real person. And if there's one thing I'm going to set a boundary on henceforth after today, it is to only spend time with real people. And when you decide to be a real person, show up. I'm just going to put up with those who do not consider me a real person here. I will outlast this bullshit. I've been outlasting it for 55 years. It is no problem for me. I have pictures. I have pictures of a life well lived. All those albums of how I gave for you, America. I can turn my world around to where I'm not the one left behind. You are. And the one thing you have to be with me is time. What the thunder said. After the torchlight red on sweaty faces, after the frosty silence in the gardens, after the agony in stony places, the shouting and the crying, prison and palace and reverberation of thunder of springs over distant mountains, he who was living is now dead. We who were living are now dying, with a little patience. Here is no water, but only rock. Rock and no water and the sandy road. The road winding above among the mountains, which are mountains of rock without water. If there were water, we should stop and drink. Amongst the rocks, one cannot stop or think. Sweat is dry, and feet are in the sand. If there were only water amongst the rock, dead mountain mouth of carious teeth that cannot spit, here one can neither stand, nor lie, nor sit. There is not even silence in the mountains, but dry, sterile thunder without rain. There is not even solitude in the mountains, but red, sullen faces sneer and snarl from doors of mud-cracked houses. If there were water and no rock, if there were rock and also water, and water, a spring, a pool among the rock, if there were the sound of water only, not the cicada and dry grass singing, but sound of water over a rock, where the hermit thrush sings in the pine trees. Drip, drop, drip, drop, 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 drop. But there is no water. I stopped reading where my art will be. Now, I've been immortally, mortally honest. Let me draw back and say, I sincerely hope everyone and anyone have reasons to smile this week. Thank you for listening.